So we're the gold team on capital punishment. Society will reach Locke's view of happiness when in favor of capital punishment, which is the consequence of violating someone else's natural rights to life and happiness. Capital punishment is where the state gives a criminal a sentence that results in death due to the severity of their crimes, such as in the case of the Boston bomber. To obtain the death sentence, the jury must be in unanimous vote for the death penalty. If one person is against the penalty, the criminal will end up getting life in prison. Currently, the Boston bomber is in court. It has already been determined that he is guilty, and they are now in the process of determining the sentence for his crimes. This is an important part of morals, as many people believe that capital punishment is not moral and that it is murder. According to natural law, the death penalty is moral. It becomes a moral sentence the moment someone violates another person's inalienable right to life. Natural law is a view that is inherently inalienable right. John Locke argued that the law of nature obliged all human beings not to harm the life, the liberty, health, limb, or goods of another. These rights are considered property, which is protected by society's law. These rights are the life a person has in their physical property. Once they violate that right, their own rights become forfeited. This, in a sense, is an eye for an eye kind of philosophy as long as certain protocols are taken. However, even though their rights are forfeited, not just anyone can come up and kill them because they killed someone, or as in the case of the Boston bombers, the killing and maiming of many people. Justice has to be administered by the state and not the individual. If it is administered by the individual, it is vigilantism and not justice. That person is now also a murderer. The individual has no power to administer justice to another. If he does, he has become a murderer himself, and his rights he has forfeited. Every offense that can be committed in the state of nature may in the state of nature be also punished, equally and as far forth as it may in a commonwealth. John Locke. This goes back to the eye for an eye scenario, except with this, someone doesn't come to avenge their family or friends, so that no family feuds start, but by the proper authorities, which is the state. Only the state has the power to administer justice, which includes capital punishment. Which, to do so, they need to find him guilty of a crime that the penalty would be capital punishment. Then the jury must be unanimous in their decision to give the prosecutor the death sentence. In the case of the Boston bomber, one of the jurors held out saying that he doesn't deserve the death sentence. In this case, the Boston bomber would likely get life in prison away from the general population and would be stuck in isolation for the rest of his life. However, the prosecutors are currently going for the death penalty with everything they got, as his crimes are considered acts of terrorism. They see all the aggravating factors outweighing the mitigating factors. The aggravating factors are the evidence against him, such as showing signs of guilt, such as trying to run away. The mitigating factors would be his brother brainwashed him, or that he hasn't developed morally yet. The state can administer a sentence, but at the same time has to make sure the violator does not suffer, or it would be considered cruel and unusual punishment. However, if there is evidence that the perpetrator is innocent, or at least doesn't deserve the death sentence, they are still sentenced to death, and then the one who administers the death is responsible for their death. This could also be considered responsible if the criminal who is being put down is in unnecessary and excruciating pain, even if the criminal caused a lot of pain. This is seen as a life being paid as the ultimate price. They are then considered murderers themselves, and their rights are thus forfeit. However, if the evidence is found after capital punishment has already been administered, then the one who administered it is not at fault and retains their rights. An example of this would be post-sentence investigation and DNA testing that clears the criminal's name. As the evidence is obtained afterwards, such as DNA testing that has freed many innocents, those who incarcerated them taking their rights are not at fault, as the truth was not known at the time, at no fault of their own. Many of those victims affected by the bombings do not want the death penalty for, as it is becoming seen as inhumane. The United States is one of the few countries in the world that still uses the death penalty, while most have abolished it. In keeping with the morals of natural law, capital punishment is an acceptable punishment to use even as a threat to would-be murderers or terrorists. As the old same proverb goes, one sword drawn keeps another in its sheath.